to come like incorporated in my matter, and secondly, I'm going to be proving to you, as Henry says, why not euthanizing these people is for the greater good, because he has built his whole case on how euthanization is like the better alternative in this instance. So first of all, we have to establish first that in the nature of disaster in the 21st century, the government has a certain level of culpability. Why? Because these things are easily predictable in the 21st century, right? So when the government can be easily predictable and there is no fast access of Medicare in cases of need, that means that to an extent the government has a degree of culpability in that extent. Even when it is not predictable, the government is still obligated to provide medical care for those in need, you understand? So when there is a culpability of government here, why is it necessary for the government to reduce their culpability in the death of individuals in this case? That is the main body of my first point. So now I've already proven to you how the government has a culpability in this instance, on how they are like partly responsible for what is happening to these people, like they are supposed to be protecting in the first place, right? So the lack of Medicare to these victims is already a failure of government in itself. So why should we increase the death of this in the instance? So we'll prove to you how this, sit down please, we'll prove to you how this gives a very, very bad notion of government to the relatives of the victim, you understand? It gives them a very, very bad closure. Why? Because the government has already failed the victim in the first instance where they failed to provide Medicare, and to tell the relatives of these victims that the government now went ahead to take the life of the person they put in that situation in the first instance, we believe is a very, very bad way to like achieve closure to the relatives of this victim. I believe it is very, very key and should be noted in this debate. Sit down please. So we believe that it is very, very essential we understand that this culpability, and it is very, very necessary for the government to like undermine its culpability in instances where it has failed the people, right? And we believe that not participating in this is a very, very key instance. Please sit down. Yes.
Okay.
Sit down please, sit down please, sit down. The argument is simple. To the extent where government has the culpability has a hand in the process that took them to the extent where there is no Medicare and they will definitely die, the government should not participate in the diet because it increases government culpability in that instance. It's a very simple argument. Past finalists should get it. So secondly, the nature of natural disasters. We have to take into cognizance that natural disasters usually happen to demographics, right? There are no natural disasters that kill one person in Yola and kill one person in Enugu and kill one person in another state. These things affect people that are usually like existing within a certain demographic. It is very, very essential to note now. So if there is a natural disaster in Nigeria, like for example, and it affects like mostly the east, and there are thousands of Igbo people that are going to die if the government does not euthanize, they are going to die anyways, or that the government will euthanize them. It is very, very essential for the government to maintain neutrality in this instance. Why? Because it will subsequently lead to like mass euthanization of people of the same demographic or ethnic group, which is subsequently akin to government committing genocide in this instance. This is very, very key in this debate. Why? Because if government takes participation in like mass euthanization of, because these natural disasters happen to people of the same demography and a lot of these people are in the same places, and government takes participation in killing these people because it gives them dignifying death, not minding the capability of government in failing to like provide adequate medical care in those instances. We believe that in this instance it can be likened to government like taking willing action to end the life of a tribal group simply because it's of a whole demography, simply because it happens. That's one. Secondly, people that live within these demographies are actually interconnected in these societies, right? Their lives are so interconnected that they live within these demographies. So when these natural disasters occur to them or happen to them in these demographies, it is not in the place of the government to like take the responsibility of euthanizing mass people that live in the same places, reducing the population of a place. Okay, let's say there is a natural disaster in a demography, and the government now takes the responsibility of mass euthanization because obviously there will be many people in those demography that is there. We believe that it is very, very key for the government to remain neutral in this instance. Then thirdly, this pushes a very bad narrative on how the government should treat disabled in the community. Subsequently, victims of these natural disasters that lose their ability or their agency to perform basic tasks or feel pain can actually be characterized as disabled in the communities. It's just like they are mass disabled, you understand? So we're pushing the narrative that the government should take the life of a person simply because he's passing through pain. Is pushing the narrative that the government does not value the life of disabled, and we believe that narrative should not be like prevalent in any same community or society. We believe it's very, very important for the government to maintain neutrality in these instances and not like appear to be oppressing or discriminating against certain sections like in the life of the people, right? We concede and we recognize the fact that that thing is very, very important in this debate. Now Henry bases his case on how like pain how human beings should be free from suffering. So basic question we should understand in this debate now, there is no quantitative metric to determine to at which extent pain becomes so much that the government is justified to end an individual's life. If there is no quantitative metric to determine at which exact point that pain becomes so much that the government should end the human life, then the government should not take any action in that element. It's a simple legal principle: when unsure, do not act. So if the government cannot exactly determine exact moment amount of pain that makes an individual or that is characterized as indignifying to an individual, if the government cannot determine the exact amount of pain that is characterized as bad for an individual, if the government cannot determine the exact amount of pain at which an individual loses his dignity and his right to like live a very, very happy life, we believe that the government should not act in this instance, because this pains that they are talking about is very, very arbitrary and subjective to the person and the individual in question.
Alright, okay. Alright, factors, take into cognizance the factors of the number one. Secondly, an outcome of death, even when the government...
Sit down, please. I've already proven, I've answered your prayer. If you're listening, you would have gotten it. So, fifthly, now when I talk about the legitimacy of this, you understand, in every sense society, as already explained, you understand, the government can only take the life of an individual when he has committed a crime. And the OG has already said that people, and the OG has already established that these people are not even in like a mental state to like request for this euthanasia. That means that the government does not have any agency whatsoever to like take the life of these people, you understand, because it is simply illegitimate. It's simple as there is moral absolutism and there's nothing that should be requesting to that. So what have we brought to you in this debate? We brought to you about how the government is already culpable in the process that led to the people being in this situation, and how they should maintain their neutrality in order not to increase their culpability. We brought to you about how the nature of natural disasters means that it affects people in the same demography, people in the same ethnic group, and these people might share like the same ethnic group, and how the government stepping in and how the government not being neutral in these cases means that the government has a hand in like euthanizing mass numbers of people in the same demography, which can be likened to genocide. I've told you about the narrative it pushes in the society on how the government should treat people with disabilities, as in the case of the victims of this. I've told you about how pain is very, very arbitrary, and the extent of pain which makes somebody inhumane, and the extent to what we don't know to what extent pain becomes too unbearable for a person to be stepped into by the government. And it's very, very key in this debate, because it's a simple moral legal principle. If you are unsure of when something is happening, do not act. Thank you.